Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the P90 post-patch. Now, why the P90 out of all guns out there? PDWs didn't necessarily get a huge upgrade overall. They got some stability upgrades, but their damage model didn't really change up too much. What did change is the damage model of a lot of the assault rifles, carbines, and machine guns out there, making a lot of PDWs much more effective in close quarters than they used to be. The basic principle behind this is that the average weapon doing 25 damage maximum has had its damage model lowered to 24 damage maximum. This means you're going to need one extra shot to down your opponent provided that they're at full health, and this makes other guns that have already had a 5-shot kill requirement much more effective. This is where the P90 comes into play. The P90 does 21 maximum damage and has a 900 round per minute rate of fire, meaning you're going to have a 5-shot kill in close quarters just like any other assault rifle or carbine out there, aside from the heavier hitting ones like say the Scar H. The only drawback to this is that at any range beyond around 8 to 10 meters away from you, your 5-shot kill turns into a 6-shot kill, and that is where assault rifles, carbines, and light machine guns have the advantage over this weapon. So just like before, you're going to have to get into extreme close quarters with PDWs to be effective, at least to be more effective than assault rifles and carbines and light machine guns. So what I've done here is I've joined up into some TDM games, some domination games, and I've put a suppressor on my P90. I've also put a laser sight on there to help me with my hipfire accuracy. I use the green laser sight just because I have a weird theory that if you're using a green laser over a red laser, it'll take a fraction of a second longer for your enemy to realize that you're hostile versus friendly, just because a lot of the markings on the screen use red for hostile and green for friendly, and perhaps it takes a fraction of a second longer for their brain to kind of do the math and figure out, oh yeah, it's green, but he's still an enemy. I don't know, this is all theoretical at this point, but you know what? I like playing around with different combat theories. There's no way I'll ever know for sure if it has any sort of benefit, but I like to think that it does. Now, if we were playing Battlefield 3, I would be able to equip the P90 on a support class, on the medic class. I could play it on whatever class that I wanted. But because we're playing Battlefield 4, PDWs are an engineer exclusive weapon, so if you are playing an infantry-centric round or a game type like I am right now, you're not going to get a ton of benefits from playing the engineer. Granted, rockets and RPGs, you know, this can be very good in some infantry situations, but let's be honest, a med pack or an ammo box is certainly going to be very helpful. The only reason I bring this up is because PDWs really do have to be used in infantry-centric maps to get the full benefit. You need close quarters, you need to be going up against infantry and not vehicles, and that's where these guns are going to kind of excel. The problem is that you're not getting a lot of the benefits that the other classes really geared to fight other infantry are getting. So I'm not getting extra points from dispensing ammo, I'm not getting heal points, revive points, and I'm not able to heal myself to last longer in combat. So when taking into account your overall round's performance or how many points you got in total, you have to remember that you're playing as the engineer, which by default just isn't going to do as well as other classes point-wise. Now let's talk about the time to kill and the damage per second versus, say, assault rifles. In extreme close quarters, the P90, even with a suppressor, is going to essentially be doing the same amount of damage as an AEK assault rifle, which is certainly very respectable considering that the AEK is one of the top dog assault rifles right now in Battlefield 4, and this gun can essentially match its damage output in very close range combat, not to mention it has a magazine that carries 50 rounds, which is 20 more rounds than an AEK. So you have a very, very effective weapon in extreme close quarters. Again, the big problem with this is that as soon as you get beyond 10 meters, you start entering that 6-shot to kill range, and that's going to put you in a longer time to kill scenario than, say, something like an AEK, which is still going to be in the 5-shot range. So it is only as good as an AEK, if not a little bit better, in extreme close quarters, whereas once you get beyond that extreme close quarters, it becomes less effective very quickly. Now let's talk about the overall PDW design in Battlefield 4 and how it's different and perhaps a bit worse than Battlefield 3. The amazing thing is that the actual damage model of PDWs hasn't really changed from Battlefield 4 to BF3, and if you guys remember in BF3, there was a lot of people using PDWs. I used the MP7 a lot, the AS-Val was a PDW, P90 was still very effective. There was a lot of really good PDWs that people used a lot. They were a universal class weapon, so you could use them in any scenario with any class, but really one of the major differences between the usage of these weapons between BF3 and BF4 is that BF4 does not cater to close range combat the same way that Battlefield 3 did. There was a lot of maps that allowed you to get really up close and personal with your opponents. You can certainly do that in BF4, but it's a lot trickier. There's usually a lot more open ground to cover between getting to those close quarter engagement areas, and the maps aren't really designed so that you can run around the whole map with a shotgun or a PDW, provided that you take the right path. You usually, in fact almost always, have to cross big open terrains in which you're going to get gunned down by all the other guns in the game that have better damages at longer ranges. Maps in general have seemed to take in a more naturalistic open environment approach, which looks more realistic and definitely feels more realistic, but also doesn't really cater to some of the damage models in this game. And that's something that I think a lot of game designers should really pay more attention to, is just how the gameplay is changing and if you should still keep the same damage models of your previous games based on the average engagement distances or the combat style that you're going for in the new game. And I think PDWs just kind of got overlooked and they still need to be worked on a bit. But back to the actual performance of the P90. It's a very fun gun to use. I feel like the suppressor is almost mandatory and you don't lose too much bullet velocity overall. The spread of the weapon and the recoil of the weapon has been vastly improved in the latest patch, so it's going to be more accurate overall. It's going to be better for shooting from the hip. And it's just going to be a really fun gun to use because of the ammo capacity. You can mow through 3 or even 4 guys before you need to reload, provided that you're close enough. The biggest key to success with the P90, or really most PDWs out there, is picking the right map to play on. You can see here I'm playing Zavad 311 on Team Deathmatch. Before that I was playing Paracel Storm and Golmud Railway on TDM, which offer a lot of close quarter combat options. So if you don't pick a map that offers a lot of CQB, you're going to be stuck using this weapon at medium and longer ranges where it's going to be horribly ineffective, and you're going to think that, oh, this gun really sucks. It's not so much that it sucks, it just wasn't designed for 90% of the game. So in the 10% of the game, the 10% of the maps that actually cater to this gun, you can actually have a really good time with it and do pretty well overall. And because the overall playstyle and goal of this gun is to kill people in extreme close quarters, the suppressor really doesn't lower your bullet velocity enough to make it ineffective in those close quarter ranges. So it is almost mandatory to use a suppressor with this gun, because keeping off the minimap is going to allow you to stay alive longer in close quarters and go on those longer kill streaks. Anyway, you guys should really test out the P90 for yourself. It is very effective in CQB now. It's a fun gun. It got a nice update. Not all PDWs got an update. It's more of the downgrade that other weapons got that makes the PDWs more effective, but only in close quarters. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.